Let me tell you of the days of high adventure.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm John.
And I'm Kevin.
And this is 6 Degrees of Schwarzenegger, the podcast where we take a long, hard look at some of our favorite action movies from the era of Arnold.
Schwarzenegger is the icon of the genre, and we're taking a deep dive into some of these 80s and 90s cult action movies and breaking them all the way down.
We're going to get into the nitty and the gritty and examine the good, the bad, the ugly, and the laughable in these movies.
But we're always coming from a place of love. You don't watch these movies as much as we have unless you have a genuine affection for them. Hey everybody, welcome back.
Welcome. Welcome one, welcome all.
We're excited to be back with a brand new series here. We're also excited to be joined by those of you listening on the Last of the Action Heroes podcast network.
Hey guys.
Yeah, we're thrilled to be a part of it. We're glad that we weren't kicked out of the network.
That we haven't embarrassed ourselves too much.
After they heard some of our opinions of Stallone.
Yeah, I would apologize, but I'm not sorry.
Yeah, so if you're listening on the podcast network and you like what you hear, go check out our old feed on our own 6 Degrees of Schwarzenegger channel. A lot of old, amazing stuff there that we're working on adding to the network. And then if you're listening to us on our own feed, check out the podcast network. They got stuff on Stallone. They got Bruce Willis, Dolph Lundgren love, James Bond love, so Steven Seagal love. So there's just all sorts of generic action awesomeness going on over there. And thanks to those guys for letting us be a part of all the fun.
Yeah, and thanks to all of their fans for taking the 6 Degrees ride with us as well. Yeah, as Kevin said, it's going to be a wild and bumpy ride. We're doing a movie that was familiar, but not overly familiar to either of us. Something I think that was maybe on the periphery, but maybe more so just because I was, 8 and thought that the movie poster looked cool. But this is not something that was heavy in the rotation at our family, and I think that's mostly because my grandmother didn't own the VHS
She didn't
tape.
have this. There weren't enough muscle, there wasn't enough muscle porn going on in this one for your grandma. We're going to do Schwarzenegger's 1986 offering, Raw Deal. I hadn't really watched this. I mean, you mentioned the poster. I can't even picture it. Was it him in a tank top?
It's just him in like a tank top with his hair slicked back holding a machine gun of some kind.
That's all you need.
Yes.
You got me.
It checks so many boxes.
This is for sure on the lesser known, the lower prominence Schwarzenegger movies from that Conan through, True Lies era.
Definitely. So it's not in that wheelhouse at all. It's sort of like B-level Schwarzenegger stuff.
This one in Red Heat, I feel like fall in that category.
Yeah,
another
Belushi.
And I never really watched Red Sonja, but that was on TBS all the time, I think.
Yeah, I wonder how who was in charge of programming those. This movie's great.
Red Sonja?
Yeah, that Red Sonja needed to be on there, but this one didn't need to be on there.
Yeah. I still haven't seen Red Sonja, so I look forward to the day that we do that.
That's going to be the next time we're thinking about doing another sword and sorcery, that's going to have to be one. And that movie's so weird. I wish we were talking about it, but we're not. We're talking about Raw Deal.
We'll get there.
So let's talk about who's in this, who's directing it, who's in the production team, what's going on.
This I feel like is a horde of lesser known people behind the scenes on this one. Directed by a guy named John Irwin.
The only other thing that I recognized from his IMDb credits as a director was, and I don't know if you ever saw it, but there was a Prince of Thieves, or maybe it even came around the same time, but there was a Robin Hood movie made, and I, for the life of me, can't remember the name of the actor that played Robin Hood. He, at the time, was pretty, I think, famous-ish. But Uma Thurman played a young Marion.
I recall that. I'm going to look it up now because I'm curious.
Yeah.
And I remember it, and it was like it was a weird, not an A-lister.
No, it was a guy that, he was, I think, just probably one of those guys that was well known as being like an actor's actor or something like that, but it was like unusual for him to be a huge star in this movie.
Patrick Bergen.
That's it.
As Sir Robert Hood, a.k.a. Robin Hood. Yeah. Jürgen Prochnow has some character in it, not even Sheriff Nottingham or anything like that. Not many notable names on this thing.
Yeah. I remember renting movies and the trailer for that movie being in like the opening, like after the Pizza Hut commercial.
Is that an upgrade or a downgrade from Raw Deal for Irwin?
I think that anything with Schwarzenegger at this time is an upgrade. Yeah. I think that this was good for
Was he a full-on A-lister in 86?
I have no idea. Irwin?
No, I mean Schwarzenegger.
Oh, Schwarzenegger? I think
he had come off Commando at that point.
He was about to be. That's the thing, is that I think that there were enough people that could see the writing on the wall, I think.
The potential?
Yeah, they could see the writing on the wall, the potential for greatness in Schwarzenegger, and that this movie was like, we just got to make it. We got to get the country and the international movie-going audience to be on board with this guy. This is the guy.
There is always that, like, a lag in you have a big breakthrough like a Commando, I think. And then there's the movies that you had in the pipeline already that you can't get out of.
Yeah.
So he put out this and like Red Heat, and then he came back with Predator. And that, I feel like Predator is the one that really launched him.
Yeah, definitely. But even thinking about like Arnold in terms of Arnold the performer, Arnold the actor, and you have talked about this and sort of opened my eyes up to it, and I'm more cognizant now when I watch these movies. But like, this is one of the ones where you're watching Arnold try to figure it out on camera.
Yeah, how to play a human being.
And like, then you watch him in things like Predator, and it was like, I can't imagine anyone else in that role. I mean, there are so many people that could do it probably, but it's like, it's so iconic that you don't want to.
And he learned to let his like charisma shine through.
Yeah, because he was a charismatic guy.
But yeah, you think about his stuff before this. I mean, Commando was probably his first real attempt at acting.
Yeah.
And it was hit or miss.
All that matters to me is Johnny.
Anyway,
what we're trying to tell you, intrepid listeners, is that we didn't know who John Irwin was, okay?
Okay. And I still don't.
No.
So I'll let you, since you have a greater mastery of the Italian lexicon,
so
I'll let you name these writers.
We have some story credits by some heavy hitters from the spaghetti western era.
Is that what they're from?
Yeah. Luciano Vincenzoni wrote The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, No Big Deal.
Wow.
And Sergio Donati wrote a movie called Once Upon a Time in the West, No Big Deal.
Shit.
Yeah.
So these dudes had clout in Italy.
Yeah. So
I wonder if this was a remake of an Italian
I wondered
thing.
that too and could not find the answer. Then I also wondered, like, was it supposed to be? Like, was it supposed to have been something else in, like, was it supposed to have been a Western or something else that ended up getting repurposed? It
does feel like there was some heavy rewriting of rewrites going on in this thing.
As far as screenplay goes, Gary DeVore, who I didn't recognize a single other thing that the guy was in, and then Norman Wexler, who wrote or had writing credits for Serpico and Saturday Night Fever.
Okay,
so he had chops.
I feel like he was blockbusters.
He was probably the D'Souza type that they went to like get in and like try to fix
punch
some
that
things
up a little bit.
Music by Chris Boardman, who has tons of great music department credits, including Payback, Color Purple, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, and Total Recall. But a lot of orchestrator and arranger credits.
What does that mean? So you take the themes that this guy wrote and you flesh them out?
Correct. So Danny Elfman, from what I understand, is not a great anything but a theme writer. He comes up with a nugget of an idea, and then he hands it to his music department, and other people do the busy work, the important work of being like, what instruments do we want to play this?
Okay.
How do we want that theme to evolve, and so on and so forth.
I also think about a movie, like any movie really, from a Star Wars to a whatever, where it'll be like 3 or 4 themes, and then that theme will be sprinkled through half a dozen pieces of music in the movie. And I wonder, like, did John Williams, did he sit and write each of those 6 pieces, or did someone take his themes and use them in different ways?
I'm not sure. If I had to guess, I would say that early on in his career that he was writing every note. Maybe once it got to a certain point, he had a staff that he felt comfortable enough delegating to. But yeah, I would say that probably early on, that man was writing every note for every part.
That's amazing.
Because I think that he's like a for real composer.
I was recently, for whatever reason, I was studying James Horner.
Yeah.
And he would do like 6 movies a year or something.
That's
and it's
insane.
like, you can't, I don't know that a person could write. It'd be like when whoever, John Grisham, or who are some of those other dudes that are like, you're not writing 5 books a year.
James Patterson. Yeah.
It's like you're giving
Clancy.
you're giving an outline to a ghostwriter, and they're turning it into a full-blown book.
That's basically, there was a really, really interesting thing on a 2020 or something like that a few years back about James Patterson. Like, now the dream is to be like, on the cover of the novel is huge, and then way down at the bottom it says with so-and-so.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's the guy that did the grunt work.
Of
That's
course.
the guy that wrote the book.
Yeah. So maybe that's what Boardman was doing on some other...
for other people.
One other thing on Boardman, I noticed he had done this soundtrack for the Tales from the Crypt movie Bordello of Blood. And I was like, fucking weird. I forgot about those Tales from the Crypt movies they tried to do.
Yeah,
there was that
wild.
one in Demon Knight.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of them had Dennis Miller as like a lead. Fucking weird. Produced by Dino De Laurentiis and Martha De Laurentiis. The whole crew, there was like a lot of the crew was filled with Italian names, which is like, it was a half Italian, half American.
That's very interesting.
I think.
And then a very Italian movie as far as the plot is concerned, like the mob involvement.
Yeah, edited by Ann Coates.
I just, sometimes you just got to make that paper, even when you're a legend.
She was fresh. This is what she did just before Masters of the Universe.
Wow.
It was like,
what a time.
She'd also done, Lawrence of Arabia, and I had jotted down, she did, as you mentioned, I think on our previous series, Elephant Man.
Yeah.
Amazing. She had done In the Line of Fire, Aaron Brockovich, like multiple Oscar nominations.
Yep.
She won like an honorary Oscar in 2017.
Well, then I sit and wonder, thinking about the movies that come out, like this movie, and thinking like, how much worse would this movie have been had Ann Coates not been like in there in the editing room, like
her gentle touch,
making sure that things are passable at best.
I had just watched the movie Congo, the Michael Crichton book that was in the post Jurassic Park when they made a movie out of everything he'd ever written.
Yeah.
And that movie is god awful, but she edited that one as well.
I remember watching that movie multiple times, like one of those weekends where HBO would be free. Like and like just watching that movie like 6 times and being like, yeah, it's not great, but it's fun. It's still pretty
something
fun.
Weird. There's a gorilla skydiving in the movie. That's all. That's all you need to know about Congo. It's on Netflix now, and you can watch a gorilla skydive. So I recommend it.
Tim Curry's he's a frothing maniac,
like
villain
sort of
in that
a
movie.
Generically like Soviet bloc.
Yeah.
Greedy dude, and Ernie Hudson playing like British. Though there was a scene with Tim Curry and Ernie Hudson acting against each other, and I'm like, this is entertaining to watch because these are two like masters of their craft.
Absolutely.
Working together, and like, and then there's just like so much wasted potential. I remember liking the Crichton book, but I
never read Congo, read Jurassic Park and others, but that one's not one that I ever.
Man, right after Jurassic Park killed it, they like did movies of Congo and Sphere and Rising Sun.
Yeah.
Like anything he'd ever written, they were
I will say one that they kind of hit out of the ballpark, and just that they made a really entertaining movie, was 13th Warrior.
I never watched
the
that
original
one. Eaters of the Dead.
Eaters of the Dead. Yeah.
Was it Beowulf?
It was. Yeah, a retelling of Beowulf from the standpoint of a fictional Arab character that was like, for some reason, their guide.
Was it Banderas?
It was Banderas playing an Arab. Yeah.
Okay.
Ibn Fadlan was his name.
It was good though.
Yeah, it was
I
entertaining.
Never watched it.
It was really entertaining.
Some good director directed it, but I can't remember who.
I can't remember either.
It was a retelling. It was an original work. It wasn't Like he took it and changed the point of view. It
was as basically as if a 13th century Arab warrior scholar had written the Beowulf legend.
Okay.
So
interesting.
Yeah, it was very, very interesting.
I just looked it up. 13th Warrior, directed by John McTiernan.
Hey, that's why it's so good.
Apparently, I need to watch it.
Yeah, you should check it out because it is action packed and awesome, and a very interesting retelling of the Beowulf legend. Which now I'm kind of itching to go back and reread that. Yeah, it makes me excited too about the Gawain and the Green Knight movie that's coming out.
Oh fuck,
that's going to be awesome.
Wait,
we should go see that.
Different than Green Knight. Or the one that's out now, the one that just came out?
It's based on Gawain and the Green Knight.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, we should go see that.
If you feel comfortable sitting in a movie theater.
I feel fine sitting as long as we're sitting in the back with masks on.
We should make a reservation because I want to see the fuck
Let's do it.
Okay. Yeah. The cast of this movie, Schwarzenegger, obviously, our burgeoning star.
We love you.
Our, what's the word? Or not debutante. It's ingenue.
Yeah.
Ingenue Schwarzenegger.
Definitely at this point in his career.
Other guys who you would recognize in this movie, Robert Davi.
Yeah, that's Jake Fratelli from the Goonies.
Fratelli, Special Agent Johnson.
One of two Johnsons
from
in Die Hard.
But he always delivers. He's got a look to him, like an intensity.
He's so recognizable as soon as you see him.
I feel like he's a dude who in real life would be hilarious.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree.
Even though he's always playing a super serious dude. Darren McGavin.
That's Mr. Parker, the dad from Christmas Story.
That's the old man.
Old man
from Christmas Story. Amazing to watch him do anything else.
Playing a character named Harry Shannon of the Bureau.
We had Catherine Harold.
Never heard of her.
Monique, the pseudo quasi love interest in the film. Sam Wanamaker plays the Mafia Don.
I went back and he had a decade spanning career and I couldn't place him just because the IMDb photo is like an older photo. But then when I saw him on screen, I was like, I recognize him from tons of other things.
Yeah,
and
he was just one of those working actors.
Yeah. Tons of TV credits.
That makes sense. And then there was this actor, Paul Shenar, playing Roca.
Yeah, the only other thing I recognized him was Sosa from Scarface.
Yeah, that same. So I guess we can navigate our way towards the film itself.
Yeah.
There's a movie to discuss.
You guys are going to love it. Trust me.
Yeah, man. So opens up with that De Laurentiis Entertainment Group
I like their logo.
Which I'm
lion,
like, that's a sign of quality in the day. We get this Amtrak train. Yeah, dude, the soundtrack came in hard.
Yeah.
The Amtrak train is like rolling into the station. It's like pulling towards the camera. My first thoughts was that it had like a cool 80s sort of gritty look to it.
Agreed. It also made me want to go on an Amtrak trip.
Yeah, I want to ride that Chicago to Seattle.
You should. I've ridden a stretch of that trip before, and it's awesome.
Is that as you went through Glacier Park on that ride?
I stayed just outside of Glacier on that trip, but picked up right outside, like just west of Madison, Wisconsin, and took it all the way to the door, like literally East Glacier and like West Glacier, just on the other side. It was awesome.
Amazing.
It's amazing. Yeah.
I've been to the train stations when I've been at Glacier, but I want to ride the train. That seems like a great way to just watch the country go by.
But as you say, it definitely, like, the atmosphere picks up. Like, I love movies in train stations anyway, but there's definitely with that low, like, ominous low sense, like, first thing that happens, and then you're in the train station was awesome.
There was something like a little Die Hardish to me to the cinematography. Like, it was lens flares and stuff like that. Now, we get a well-dressed man in a slick suit. He was credited in the credits as Dangerous Man.
I think that's awesome.
That's a killer. That's a killer credit. He's walking around the station. I thought he had a killer look to him.
Yeah, and also, so he's in this like sharp 80s cut suit, and the music, as soon as you see him like bebopping through the train station, starts to kick in. It's like very 80s tastic. It's like, it's like all this.
Was it like Faltermeyer-ish?
It's a little bit Faltermeyer-ish, yeah.
And then he's joined by like another sort of frumpier dressed man, although he looked like a poet or like a novelist living in New England or some shit to me.
He's wearing like a trilby and twill, like big window pane check jacket and a sweater vest or some shit.
Honestly, though, like when I saw him, I was like, that's the shit I could see John wearing that. Because it is kind of like,
totally.
It's a hipsterish look too, and like kind of cool.
What are you saying, my good man?
No, it's kind of like
I 100. When I saw that guy,
a person could look cool wearing that stuff, or you could look like a professor at a New England private university.
Could not agree with you more. I was digging the vibe.
Elsewhere, there's a motorboat just cruising through like a harbor in a foggy city skyline. Just two randos on the boat.
It's a very cool shot. Again, I was like, wow, that's cool. That's a good, like, interesting shot. The water looked beautiful. The city looked cool.
I feel like fog, wrecked a lot of shots throughout this movie, as we'll see. Like, I feel like we were supposed to see a skyline there, and it was fogged in that day.
Right.
But that's what happens, I think, when you're doing, like, a low-budget film.
Right.
So, cut back to that frumpier-looking man we saw earlier. He's now at a small airport where a helicopter's coming into land.
Is he coming or is he going? Like,
it's apropos of nothing.
No.
This scene, like, we don't see anything. It feels a little bit like the Open to Commando, where it's just like...
that's exactly what I thought.
Where it's like, this is just bad guys doing bad shit.
Yep.
We don't really know what it is yet.
The troops are mustering. That's all we know.
Okay. So we got a station wagon with Washington State tags cruising down this gravel road in the woods. I don't know if we're meant to think that it's in Washington State.
Yeah.
Somewhere it's just generic wilderness.
That was sort of the vibe, that I got as well.
So this thing parks. Frumpy man gets out. He's got a rifle with a silencer and a scope. Badass shit.
It's not at all what I thought that Frumpy man would pull out of the car, but
you said once before, like, that there's something so sinister about a silencer.
Yeah. You know someone's about to get, like, hosed.
Like, this is not just carrying a weapon for looks, like, because I plan to shoot this thing and I don't want anyone to hear me.
No deer will be shot today when the silencer is on that gun. And also you have to, like, silencers on rifles. Like, I don't care, like, it fucks up the accuracy of the weapon.
Does it?
Yeah.
Unless you're close, I guess.
Unless you're closer. So, yeah, there's going to be violence incurred on someone.
So he sneaks up on an armed man, sort of taking a smoke break on a dock by a lake.
Yep.
That man tries to pull a pistol out of his holster, but Frumpy man shoots him and kills him. We really don't know what's going on yet.
No clue.
At this point.
It's like you said, bad guys doing bad guy things.
So back at the car, Dangerous Man and a couple more, like, heavy hitter goon type guys get out of the car. They've got guns.
Shotguns, Uzis, Dangerous Man's got a gun. It's like,
I love thinking about the life of movie goons. Like, both the goon characters, but also, like, the actors who made a living playing goons.
Yeah.
Because
you're a big guy.
Yeah.
Can you hold a weapon?
It's like generic 6'3" heavy set.
Yeah.
You know how to stage fight. You know how to handle a gun or take a fall.
Absolutely.
Like, you could make a living doing that back in this day.
Did.
It's awesome.
And then one day you end up your Alan Graff and you're, like, doing like second director shoots for the rest of your life and stunt coordination.
You can make a living if you're good at it and a professional.
Hell
I think. Hell yeah. So Dangerous Man, as you said, he's got the...
I love that we're calling him Dangerous Man.
He's got a pistol and a radio. Frumpy Man approaches this cabin, shoots another armed man who's sort of standing lookout.
Yeah, like...
Shitty lookouts.
Yeah. Yeah.
They keep getting snuck up on. I don't know. Anyway, the Frumpy Man, he radios back to Dangerous Man. Says, green light.
Let's go.
Let's go. What do these anonymous goons, what are they doing when they're not just, like, silently supporting a more prominent bad guy?
Yeah. Are they,
do
like...
They have lives, they have families?
There's security at small diners where mob meetings take place and...
Sitting around in bars and titty bars.
I would think that, they're like enforcers. These are the guys that are enforcers that are, like, traveling through the neighborhood collecting a mafia boss's dues.
And they have
money.
families and stuff. They're like middle. No, they're not even middle management. They're like the lower class of goon.
They're somewhere in between, but yeah.
It's awesome.
It is. It's crazy to think about the hierarchy of a mafia organization.
Especially the goons, it's hard to imagine them in any setting other than just being a silent goon.
Because if you compared this to, like, The Godfather, I would say that Dangerous Man is
Luca? Luca Brasi or something?
No, not even Luca Brasi. I would say is probably one of these guys. Except for Luca Brasi was like the Lou Gehrig of your of your enforcer guys.
So who is
this?
It
is
then?
Was it Paulie, the fat one? The
yeah,
bring the gun,
like the capos.
Bring the cannoli. Yeah, I think that Dangerous Man is a capo.
Okay,
and that these other guys are just like
soldiers.
Enforcers. Yes, exactly, soldiers. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, it's amazing. So inside this lakefront cabin, we've got a couple of bored dudes playing Trivial Pursuit.
Oh, that Genus 1.
The question was, how many times was John Wayne nominated for Academy Award? And the dude responds, probably not enough. It's like, I feel like that's the viewpoint of the screenwriters. It's like, this is dude, there was an era where like, this was a movie made for John Wayne fans, I feel like, though.
Definitely.
Like, my dad loved that shit.
But do you
every John Wayne movie, he knew him all.
It's interesting though to think about. I guess at the time people probably watched John Wayne movies and bemoaned the violence in them, in some of them,
even though it's sort of bloodless violence for the most part.
And then you watch this and it's like ultra violence in in Panavision. It's like in living color.
Now in the cabin, another guy walks in and says Marcelino is still asleep. It becomes kind of clear, I think, through the dialogue that these men are agents. They're standing guard over like a star witness.
Yeah, one of the guys is like, how much sleep does a guy, or like what, like how is he keeping himself asleep that long? And then the guy that comes out of the room says fear. So you get the feeling that something is following.
And they're like,
Marcelino.
as long as he's there to testify, or something. So we get the impression he's like, he's a mob witness, but he's a stoolie. Now, an agent goes to open the door to the cabin, and one of those heavy hitters blows him away with a shotgun. Dude, he shot that 12 gauge one-handed. He had it like extend like a pistol.
Strong man. Could not. I'm sure I could, but it wouldn't have hit anything.
That gun would jump right out of your hand. I
think. Same guy pulls an Uzi out,
starts shooting up the place,
mowing down agents. All those guys that were just playing games are now like strewn about the floor with bullet holes.
Dangerous Man and the other dude, they toss a grenade in the back door and then just come in shooting.
Yeah.
Man, the dudes were well dressed for this type of work. It was like 3 Hans Grubers and no Carl.
They're well dressed, well financed,
very slick.
Yeah.
So they kill all the agents. They kick down the bedroom door, kill the last agent who was in there standing guard.
Well, and I love that the last agent shooting his gun like from somewhere from between hip and boob, like just holding it. And as he's shooting it, it kind of just points up in the air. It's like some weird action.
It was pretty awful.
Yeah,
it was pretty bad. They grab a cowering Marcelino.
Yeah, he's kind of whimpering on the floor in his skivvies.
In his tall socks. He had like the socks, the black socks hiked all the way up, man. I don't know why he's in his underwear. I guess it was nap time. Like,
yeah, he'd been sleeping.
So some dude's in there just watching him sleep. Kind of creepy.
Well, there'd been 2 men in there watching him sleep until a moment ago, if we remember. And then also he, like, as the bad guys are coming in, he's speaking some like broken Italian. He's like, let me die, like sciatami morire, like let me go and die,
He seems to be, throughout the course of this movie, he seems to be the only mafia guy who's actually Italian.
Right.
But yeah, he's there was like a goddamn bunk bed in there. That was kind of funny to me. But I'm like, maybe this is a cabin.
It's a fun cabin.
It's like, maybe that was the way the cabin came furnished. Like,
it was a rental.
Exactly. They say, we've been looking for you. You want to be a witness? Witness this. And then in one of the most cold-blooded like kills I've ever seen in a movie, they put him in front of a mirror and make him watch as they shoot him in the back of the head.
I thought about number one, like if making someone watch themselves get shot. They're not going to see it.
I guess you'd be dead instantly. If you shoot them right,
you would die instantly.
Like, think of like, if you did that shit and slit someone's throat, though, that would be some fucked up shit, man.
Oh, man. Yeah, that would be the stuff of nightmares.
Yeah,
because then they just have no choice but to sit and just like, I don't.
It was still pretty brutal. Maybe you're like alive for a second. I don't know.
The last few synapses are firing, and that's sad.
Brutal.
It was an interesting way to think about dying. Yeah, for real.
I've never seen that in another movie, and I wonder why not. Because it's pretty fucking effective.
It's crazy too. Dangerous Man is insane.
So sometime later, the cabin is full of like policemen and forensics guys are crawling all over the place.
The all-female EMT team.
Yeah. there was this like weird, it happens throughout the
Love
movie, but
that.
there's this weird fisheye like lens
Yeah,
sort
yeah.
of thing it happened in a lot of movies back in the day. I was watching Jackie Chan's Police Story on Criterion recently, and
Oh, cool.
I think it's when you have an anamorphic lens, it looks great when you're aimed at a stationary thing, but when you start panning, you get a weird effect. There's a Soderbergh movie that just dropped on HBO Max called No Sudden Move, with like a cavalcade of awesome actors. Don Cheadle.
It looks
and
amazing. It takes place in Detroit in like the 50s or 60s.
Yeah, it's like it's sort of a noirish thing. Benicio del Toro and Don Cheadle.
We love Benicio.
And I started watching it. I didn't get too far into it before I had to quit, but it was like embracing that fisheye look.
That's cool.
I'm like, oh, I haven't seen this in a while, because I feel like you learn how to avoid that look, but he's leaning into it, so I got to get back to it.
For sure.
So yeah, we've got those EMTs. They're wheeling bodies out of there. This is where we're introduced to Agent Harry Shannon. That's Darren McGavin, who we mentioned. He's weeping over one of the bodies.
It would have been his birthday next week.
It's his
Bumpuses!
It's his son who was killed there. Harry says he wants a list of everyone who knew where they were hiding Marcelino.
Is this how policing works?
I mean, that part maybe, but they're dead. Whoever set this up, whatever it takes, they're dead. You're like, dude, don't say that in front of witnesses.
Yeah, it's like no.
That was not a great look for our man, Harry Shannon.
No.
But so now it's just like a smash cut to this, like,
This is nuts.
Dino De Laurentiis presents in big red font. It's fucking amazing to me. And it's like playing over this.
It becomes
awesome
a
song.
It becomes and you had the new like Dukes of Hazzard, Smokey and the Bandit vibe happening. There's a dude in full motorcycle gear on a motorcycle bike,
like a
dirt
motorcycle
bike,
cop.
yeah, being chased by a Jeep on a rural highway.
Yeah, the music is killing it. It was this song "One Way Rider" by Ricky Skaggs.
Oh, I didn't know it was Ricky Skaggs.
Who
That's
is he?
badass.
Is he a known commodity?
He is a legend in bluegrass.
I'm going to download the shit out of that song, because it was a killer song.
You should download the shit out of everything that
His
the
catalog?
Skaggs, of Ricky Skaggs. You would love Ricky Skaggs. You should go back and listen to like Ricky Skaggs is one of the he's in the pantheon of famous American bluegrass musicians.
I
Check him
loved
out.
the song, and the way the song was working with the action, it was like Smokey and the Bandit.
You would dig the shit out of his output. Like
You can drive to that music.
hell yeah.
So we've got Sheriff Mark Kaminsky. That's Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's the guy driving the Jeep. Though I guess we don't really know that he's police or what the fuck is going on at this moment.
Watching this through with fresh eyes, like with no recollection of this movie, I was like, are they friends? And they're just having like a friendly car, like police.
Yeah, you're not used to seeing the police getting chased by the whatever.
It's a strange turn.
So, he comes to a bridge, and there's this truck hauling a boat that forces Kaminsky and his Jeep like into the guardrail.
Never mind. Just grind that shit and
That
keep going.
Fucking asshole is driving in the middle of the road. The guy with the boat.
Yeah.
Fucker. The motorcycle, it turns off of the highway and onto like a gravel road. The Jeep follows.
Yeah, I got to say, I love car chases, and I love rural car chases.
It is. That's
They're
what
so
I have in
much
here. Is
fun.
like so Smokey and the Bandit.
Yeah.
This shit, which made me want to watch Smokey and the Bandit.
Yeah, me
It's
too.
so
Me too.
fun. That bike was, as you said, I think it was basically a dirt bike. It was very small.
Yeah, it was not like a police cruiser.
Yeah,
at
I've
all.
never actually seen a policeman driving a bike that was small like that.
No.
This was a different era, but anyway. The chase continues through this like
It's like a logging yard or a lumber yard.
it was like
or something
maybe
that.
a railroad ties
Yeah.
or something like that. It was amazing location though.
Yeah,
It was very cinematic.
It did. Well, everything about it made me then think about like the Washington plates earlier. And I was like, is it supposed to take place in the same place? But it made me feel like Pacific Northwest, like
Really?
that vibe.
So
With logging always makes me think Pacific Northwest.
I know they filmed these bits in North Carolina.
There you go. Well, that makes sense.
And I think maybe that's where it is supposed to be, this
Sure.
part of the movie. Like later on we see, I think, his car pull up and he's got Carolina plates.
Okay, there you
I don't
go.
know if that's the shit they're paying attention to or not though. But I will say, like, there was amazing shots in this
Yeah.
sequence. Like, this director John Irwin has got a good eye for how to stage the action and get these cool, effective like shots. The motorcycle drives up on top of one of the stacks of railroad ties. It was
dope.
Awesome stuff. He does this sweet like jump across a gap between the things as the Jeep is driving through the gap below him.
Yeah, all of this stunt work is very, very cool. And to think about the amount of time they needed to set everything up where they could get those shots is nuts.
And it paired really well with the music.
Yeah.
It was just like fun. It's impossible not to be having a good time while you're watching this.
And then also you think this is a great way to eat up about 4 minutes worth of screen time without Schwarzenegger ever needing to say a word.
And I feel like they were sneaking the credits in during all this as well. Kaminsky seems to be running out of patience. Like he's getting sort of frustrated with all this.
He's mouthing bad words.
So the biker, he jumps the motorcycle off the pile of railroad ties and crashes it through like a 3-rail fence, which I feel like would have wrecked the bike.
Yeah. That guy's not going to make it. Yeah.
You just topple.
Fuck up your wheel.
So Kaminsky, he chases on. They're going through a cornfield or some shit. I feel like also the Jeep would catch up to the bike pretty quickly, like driving through the corn stalks.
I would think.
But it doesn't. The motorcycle, it reaches a dirt road on the other end of the field. The pursuit continues. We come to like a fork in the road. The motorcycle continues on one way. The Jeep stops. Kaminsky gives sort of like a little smirk.
He knows the back way.
Yeah, he knows something. So he takes the other fork in the road. The biker, who's in like full motorcycle cop uniform,
right.
He seems to think that he's lost his chaser, his pursuer.
Right.
He slows down. We see Kaminsky stopped on the side of the road beside this sort of picturesque lake. He's returning to his Jeep holding a gas can.
And this is where I start to wonder is like, did Arnold's just like, what if he's smoking a cigar here? Like, what?
He does. He puts a cigar in his mouth.
Cigar and smokes it as he's like walking back towards the road.
I feel like that was the genesis of the you just picture Arnold with a big cigar in his mouth.
Always.
And that was like, yeah. He embraces it throughout this film and in later films as well. It's awesome. But yeah, he lights that cigar and then instantly, like, as the biker's driving by, he tosses the cigar into this lake of gasoline that he's poured out.
Right.
And makes a big fireball. It's a waste of a cigar. Right?
Could have done it with a match, but yeah.
So yeah, the biker, he goes through those flames and he crashes. All right, cut to Kaminsky's driving up to the police station. He's got that captive riding shotgun in the Jeep.
Right.
Kaminsky's telling the deputies, I caught him in the act.
Oh, no, I was on my way to a costume party. Bullshit.
If that was true, like that was some like Comic-Con level cosplay, because that was like actually a pretty good excuse. I thought I was like, I'm just on my way. I'm not impersonating an officer. What are you talking about? It's a costume. So Kaminsky, he tells the deputies or whatever that this guy was pulling people over and shaking them down for money.
Genius.
Yeah.
But also terrifying. Like that shit's crazy because there have been like violent incidences where guys like pulled over women and stuff.
Oh, really?
Like dressed as cops. It's crazy.
Some creepy shit.
Yep.
So he says, Kaminsky says, book him. Impersonating an officer, resisting arrest, fraud, reckless driving, and lying to the sheriff. That's like somebody, I mentioned it to you before we started doing this, but somebody had tweeted something the other day about how it's nuts that just as a community, we've sort of agreed to look past Arnold's accent and just accept that this hulking Austrian is like a small-time sheriff or a cyborg.
This is America.
Or whatever. I love that
where your
shit.
wildest dreams can come true.
And if it's a good story, you don't notice that type of shit. You're like, all right, no, I can accept
and
that.
Again, Arnold's so lovable that it's like you're willing to forgive a multitude of sins.
So Kaminsky tells the deputies that he's going home. This heavy-set deputy towering over the fake cop.
Yeah, that dude's huge.
Come on, deputy dog.
Yeah.
And those deputies were massive. They were both bigger than Arnold.
Yep.
There's a lot of that in this movie, casting of other actors that make Arnold look normal-sized. Which is
hard.
A mistake. I think, you want to cast small guys. But anyway, Kaminsky, he's rolling up to his home. Inside, his wife Amy is like got some classical music cranked.
Yeah.
She's in there. She's decorating a cake and just chugging like
she's
brown liquor.
like looking forlorn. As soon as she hears his voice, you get the vibe that she's not feeling it. She's not excited to hear him come home.
In my mind, I'm thinking like, man, baking a cake and just getting shithouse sounds like a fun pandemic.
It sounds amazing.
Sounds like a fun pandemic weekend.
Agreed.
But that actress is Blanche Baker. Her mom is an actress named Carol Baker who played the evil grandmom in Kindergarten Cop, the one who shot Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
So anyway, I just thought that was weird.
Where's my grandson?
Kaminsky, he mutes that music. He goes and finds Amy in the kitchen.
Right.
We have to talk about how he's dressed. Like, he is the Brawny Paper Towel guy.
Exactly, yeah.
Red flannel and jeans.
And she's wearing head to toe, like, pink.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's very, like, she looks like her name would be Betty, the housewife or whatever.
Yeah,
and,
it's like some Mad Men shit.
Yeah.
When he, like, stands there and crosses his arms, it's like, you know what you're doing, right? Like,
right.
You know that this is like a corporate trademark.
Totally.
But he sees her, like, she's putting icing on the cake. He asks her if they're about to have a party. She's like, it's a weird scene.
She's like, yeah, it's a good thing you're home early to celebrate.
He's like, who's coming over? She says, it's just us. She's fucking wasted.
Yeah.
She says they're celebrating their 5th year of sort of exile in this podunk town.
Yeah, she is wasty faced, and she's like slings the spreading knife with the icing all over it, like into a laundry basket by accident.
I feel somewhat bad for her because it seems like she's got no friends and but that's kind of also on her, I guess.
Yeah.
Anyway, he says, like, don't worry, this is not forever. She's not convinced. 5
years is a long time.
Yeah.
5 years is a really long time to keep hearing this is not going to be forever.
Yeah.
That's like, what the fuck?
We get a little bit of exposition here. We got Kaminsky saying, I did the best I could. This was my only option. She says, you could have stayed with the Bureau. The Bureau, the generic
the federal
Bureau.
People are here.
He could have fought the accusations and they could still be living in New York.
There's a lot to unpack in just a couple of sentences. First of all, so he could have fought some accusations, whatever those are. They were living in New York. He did the best he could, and this was the only option. So, like, it's like after he hit the bricks from being with the Bureau for whatever he was accused of while they were living in New York.
Yeah.
Like,
he was able still to land a sheriff's position.
Is there like a database, like open law enforcement jobs?
Yeah,
like a magazine.
I mean, honestly,
or a newspaper?
if you're run out of the Bureau in disgrace, it seems like you should probably be disqualified from other law enforcement jobs.
Or maybe he had some favors he could call in. I don't know.
So. Anyway, he's saying, I'm lucky they let me resign. If I'd gone to trial, I would have lost and I'd been fired and I would have even had the chance to get this job.
So their living room is beautiful. Like whatever he's making a small town sheriff.
It was well appointed. I don't know if maybe the Bureau set him up with that.
Maybe that's what I was wondering too.
And it's interesting to sort of watch Arnold act.
Yeah.
He's like,
totally.
Some scenes it's kind of like it works. Other scenes it's not doing anything. Like in this scene, I noticed, I felt like he had the inflections down, but he was just doing nothing with his eyes.
Right. Well, because he's probably sitting there
just
thinking so hard about the words he's got to say.
Yeah. So he walks over to the stove. He surveys the mess there. Then he asks, what's for dinner? Which I feel like, in my limited experience, I know that's a big mistake.
Yeah, don't ever ask
Don't come home to an upset wife and then ask her, well, what'd you make me for dinner?
Unless the food's already made. Unless you can smell something that's been cooking.
So she says just this, the cake. She says, and then he says the cake's going to make us fat.
He's ever conscientious about his diet.
Fucking, that's a hell of a thing to say to a pissed off wife. Plus the fact that she was tiny.
Yeah. Yeah. Everything about the situation is supposed to be like, is very American.
He's asking for it.
Yeah.
Like he deserves to be berated by her.
Agreed. I agree.
So she goes on this little mini rant saying, like, you think just because we're in shape, we're not already fat?
I like that she recognizes the fact that I know I'm in shape. I know I take care of my temple. You son of a bitch.
She says, we're like the cows they raise around here. We're stuck. We're victims of circumstance. And you know what a cow's biggest contribution to the world is? She's like, she is deep in her feelings.
Yeah.
She holds up that cake, which has the word shit iced across the top of
Delicious.
it. Awesome. Then she chucks the cake at him. He sort of dodges it. It splatters all over the cabinets. And then he says, you should not drink and bake.
Oh.
That is one of the most bizarre one-liners.
Well, the whole scene is a very, very weird way to present some exposition. And I wondered if they'd been thinking about ways to do it before where it was like much more serious, where she'd developed like a real like alcohol problem, you know? And because this whole
She's definitely got depression issues going on.
But this whole thing comes across very comedically to me.
Yeah, it's like a honeymooners type shit or something. I don't know. It's like the browbeaten husband or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's also depressing.
Yeah. But then like the stuff that happens just after this, like after she's apparently passed out drunk on the couch, like, you know, we get that slow pan of the home exterior. I love the bench press with the Gold's Gym sweatshirt.
No, it was World Gym. It was like
Gym.
the same shit he had in Running Man.
Yeah.
I think like that was the gym he owned in like Venice or something, California.
But you get free product placement, advertisement for my gym. But she's like passed out on the couch and he's sitting there drinking some cognac, which we had earlier. It was awesome.
We did. I learned today that that like a cognac is grape based.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I thought it was grain for sure. Anyway, that's cool to me.
So like we're going to take the wine and make it more alcoholic.
How? They just ferment it again or,
or
add more sugar or something?
They take wine, however wine is made, just through fermentation.
I think it's like a natural fermentation.
And then they take the leftover shit and distill that.
Okay. So what is it, like the sludge or something in the bottom of the barrel or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that you take already fermented grapes and then you distill alcohol from that product.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. That's very cool.
Yeah.
I thought it was like they took the finished product of a white wine or something and then
if you're listening to this,
more shit. That's awesome.
And that's wrong, fuck you.
Also, thanks for listening.
but also, shoot us an email or hit us up on Facebook and let us know how that actually works.
Yeah, he was chilling out. He was sipping on his cognac. He was listening to some more classical music.
They were listening to Mozart or something, or Gluck or something.
I like that. I think Arnold, as a man, as a human, that's what he's into.
Yeah,
it's like that European classical shit, especially the Germans and the Austrians.
Yeah.
And he kind of tenderly like picks her up and carries her to the bedroom, her passed out ass.
Yeah, it's very a sweet moment. He carries her and tucks her into bed.
So later, the phone is ringing. It's Harry Shannon, the FBI agent, calling. Harry says he's got trouble. We need to talk.
Kaminsky's like, so talk. But Harry's like, I can't over the phone.
Yeah, Harry he intimates that maybe he could get Kaminsky back in the FBI if you help me out.
Kaminsky says when Harry says, I can't talk over the phone, Kaminsky's like, that's all I've got time for.
Yeah.
And Harry's like, he then says something like, what? Things not going great over there? Kaminsky's like, I've seen better days. And Harry's like, well, if you want to see the better days again, come meet me.
Yeah, which is prescient because that dialogue pays off later in the film. Now we cut to Kaminsky's pulling up in front of the Council on Children and Family Services building.
Okay.
That's where you can prominently see that he's got the North Carolina plates on the cruiser.
Did not pick up on that.
He enters the office marked marriage counseling.
Thank God it's clearly labeled on the door.
What? How the fuck is this the meeting spot that Harry picked? Who knows? Now, in there, they've got the TV and the VCR set
maybe it's
up.
supposed to be a dig. It's like, in America, the marriage counseling room is empty.
Well, yeah, it could be. In that room, they've got the TV and the VCR set up. That was like that shit.
It's like, could you run down to the tech room and get the TV and VCR when you're at elementary school?
It was like that old public school shit.
I loved running down to the tech room in elementary school to get the TV for the teacher.
Man, anytime you walked in the classroom and that shit was in there, you knew you were about to watch a movie.
Was getting lit.
I want to see, though, the marriage counseling tapes that they're like playing.
Oh, my God.
So Kaminsky says, the Bureau always arranges such intriguing meeting places.
Yeah, like Harry's like, this has nothing to do with the Bureau, bud.
Right, that's fishy as hell. He presses play on the VCR.
Video.
It's a tape of this gangster Luigi Petrovita, played by Sam Wanamaker. He's being questioned by prosecutors, like in a courtroom setting.
Right.
We've got this guy Baxter.
Yeah, it's somebody that Kaminsky recognizes immediately as Frank Fontana from Murphy Brown.
Baxter, he's asking this guy, like, how do you maintain such a lavish lifestyle on the $73,000 that you report to the IRS?
Yeah, Luigi.
He made a weird Ted Turner reference in there, too, which I guess Ted Turner was like the epitome of rich at that time.
Yeah, totally.
Kaminsky interrupts. He says, that Baxter, he's the federal prosecutor who cost me my job. And then he says...
Yeah, we get some more exposition.
Big, heavy-handed. Shannon's telling him, you brought in a suspect with half the bones in his body broken. And that's when Arnold, or I say Arnold, he struggles through this line. I'm going to let you try to
You remember the case? The guy kidnapped an 11-year-old girl. He molested, murdered, and mutilated her.
That's really good. That is a brutal line to ask Arnold to deliver.
Yeah, you made a great point before we started. It is clearly they didn't grab somebody like D'Souza to come in and be like, there's no way Arnold can say this line.
Right? Where's D'Souza when you need him? Am I saying that right? So Harry says, well, the public wasn't too keen on heavy-handed cops at that time.
Nothing's changed,
That's
Harry.
a weird thing to say at that time.
We used to be able to get away with anything.
I feel like it was like a Reagan-era shit. Like, now we can rough these fuckers up.
It was another time,
wink, wink.
Kaminsky.
It's also weird for you to consider that him costing you your job.
Right.
He prosecuted me for my obvious crimes, the jerk.
Yeah. It's like some Tango and Cash shit going on.
It sounds like he was a bad agent.
Yeah, exactly.
So Kaminsky says, that this guy Baxter, he told me I could be prosecuted or I could resign. Resign to be prosecuted any way you want it. That's a weird phrase.
Okay. Any way
you want it.
Don't get it.
Okay. Harry says that Baxter has given this gangster, Petrovita, a lot more trouble than he ever gave you. Harry fills us in, says Petrovita, he runs the strongest Chicago mafia family. Then he cues up the tape. He shows us Paula Rocca.
Yeah, Sosa from Scarface.
Yeah, Sosa from Scarface at the same hearing. Rocca says he'll take the Fifth Amendment on any question he's asked because he's an honest man and he shouldn't have to tolerate this type of harassment.
Oh, okay.
I feel like an honest man wouldn't need to plead the Fifth either.
Correct.
So Harry Shannon, he says that Rocca is Petrovita's muscle.
Right.
So Kaminsky wants to know, what is it that you want, Harry?
Yeah, let's get down to brass tacks here in the marriage counseling office.
Harry asks Kaminsky if you remember my son.
Blair.
I remember we used to go to ball games together.
Right.
You joined the FBI. How is he?
Dead.
Just cruel for them.
Not a finger.
It's cruel for them not to have changed the name from Blair.
Blair.
Make it something easier for our man to pronounce.
Yeah, I love the fade out followed by just fade right the fuck back in.
For no reason, because they're in the same set, same
room,
everything.
Different angle.
Some time has passed, I guess. 30 seconds later.
Just enough for Harry to have a good cry.
Yeah. Harry is saying basically he wants Petrovita dead. I want his family dead. I want his house burnt to the ground.
Yeah, Kaminsky's like, did he kill Blair?
He explains that Blair was he was killed protecting a witness that was set to testify against Petrovita.
Right.
All right. Kaminsky says that, you wield so much more power as an FBI guy, I guess, a bureau man, than I do as a small town sheriff. What do you want from me? Basically, Harry says this has nothing to do with the FBI.
No, you got it all wrong.
I'm financing this myself. Fucking what?
I've got $45,000 I'll pay you.
This is a strange plot. This is some vigilante mercenary shit. Like, this is nowhere close to being legal.
I'll give you $45,000 and the off
kill the man who killed my son.
The off chance that you might be allowed back in the FBI if you kill this mob boss.
How would him taking payment to go do mercenary work, how would that get him back in the good graces of the Bureau?
Maybe Harry can pull some fucking strings.
I guess so.
Or maybe the FBI is so corrupt that they're like, whoa, you knocked him out? Nice. Welcome back.
So
good to see you again.
Basically, he wants Kaminsky to sort of infiltrate that Patravita organization and bust it up from the inside.
He wants a Donnie Brasco.
Who do I look like? Dirty Harry?
Okay. What? Okay.
He's trying so hard to look like he's deep in thought during this sequence, too. Like he's got his hands crossed. So
Arnie.
Harry says, you could I'll work on getting you reinstated to the FBI if you do this. Kaminsky asks how. Harry explains that, FBI has been trying to get an undercover agent in this group for years. There's a leak somewhere. Our guys keep getting nailed, which is unclear. Does that mean they're like getting killed?
Yeah, they're getting whacked.
Shit. Heavy.
Should have said whacked.
So his plan is basically that no one but me is going to know about this.
Perfect.
And if you do a good job, I think there's a great shot I could get you back in the FBI.
I wish he'd actually, and he's sort of like the dad from Christmas Story does, like, so basically, like, what do you say? It looks pretty good. Sounds like a great plan.
How the fuck would that work? I'm just so puzzled.
It's a major reward.
Kaminsky's on board, though.
He's positively giddy at the prospect. He's like grinning and nodding.
I'll kill as many guys as I need to kill to get back in the FBI.
So my wife won't nag me anymore.
It's like I killed my way into this trouble, and I'm going to kill my way out of it. Now, cut to, it's nighttime at the Irvin International Oil Company. Hint, hint, that's the director's name. It's kind of like a little thing, whatever.
Okay.
We got like big tankers and
random stacks of oil drums, like big 55-gallon drums.
This shit's about to get weird. Kaminsky pulls up to the gate in his police cruiser.
He's wearing denim on denim on denim, like triple denim.
Dude, it's that Canadian tuxedo.
Yeah, yo.
But it's like, is denim on denim his uniform? That's all we see him wearing when he's on the job.
He was wearing full police, like sheriff's outfit to meet Shannon.
Yeah. It's just weird.
Before, he was wearing whatever the hell he wanted to. I don't get it either.
He takes the bolt cutters out and he cuts the lock on the gate.
Clearly on the up and up here.
Remember that. There are signs all over that's basically saying the plant is shut down. So I guess we're assuming it's abandoned.
The lights, I mean, the fucking place is lit up like Christmas out there.
Yeah, there's some cars parked there, too.
There are cars in the parking lot.
Maybe that's like security that drive around the facility when it is open. I don't know. But Kaminsky, he radios back. He says he's going to investigate a break-in at the plant.
Right.
He parks his car next to these huge tanks marked naphtha.
Yeah, I looked that up.
It is a chemical, right?
Flammable liquid hydrocarbon mixture. Lots of things you see naphtha have been produced from natural gas condensate, petroleum distillate.
So it is a thing you might expect to see at a facility like this.
Right, but it's not one thing. It could be one. It's called naphtha, but it's a different kind of a mixture. And if this sounds like I'm reading from the internet, it's because I am. But basically, the long and short of it is that it's
flammable.
It's made from natural gas, hydrocarbons, and it's flammable as fuck.
So Kaminsky turns a valve and some brown sort of liquid starts flowing.
That's why the plant's fucking shut down, is because you could just turn a valve and like the shit just comes out.
I'm thinking like, if this place is shut down, shouldn't these tanks be empty?
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't just turn it on and it pour on the ground.
Not massive stacks of oil drums that are full of shit.
There would be fail safes in place to keep that kind of shit from happening.
Now, he disappears behind the tanker and reappears on a motorcycle that he had stashed back there.
Why?
And rolls out. Like, how did that bike get back there? He planted it, right?
Yeah.
So he planted it. And then he put a padlock on the gate that he did not have the key for. So that he had to come back later and with bolt cutters.
And implicate himself.
He broke in once to plant the bike, then put a new lock on it, left, came back again and cut another lock.
Well,
it's just so weird.
There's a reason that Kaminsky's no longer with the Bureau. And maybe it's because he's not good at...
I love the thought of that he like left and
he's like, I can't believe I already brought the chain.
I lost the key.
Maybe that's a great point, is that he broke the first chain and then was like, fuck, what is security's? And so he brought another chain and put it back on.
There has to be a broken lock here. I don't know.
Oh my God.
But he stops, man. He shoots a flare gun at that.
A flare gun. I wish he'd done another cigar, but no, it's a fucking flare. Like, what aim with the flare gun? At first, I was like, what is that? What does he even have? I thought he had a detonator or something, but a flare gun. What the fuck?
Man, the place goes sky high. Huge explosion. It was like rivaling Road Warrior.
Yeah, I was impressed. And I'm a sucker for like some people riding in cars and motorcycles out
Silhouette.
Out of a fireball. Amazing.
And who among us hasn't dreamed of faking our death to escape our marriage? It's unclear why this was necessary.
Oh my God. Yeah.
This is a very elaborate and causing untold millions of property damage.
Yeah,
just to disappear.
It's not. I guess it's because the prosecutor knows who he is.
He needs to be dead.
But when he resurfaces, it's not like the prosecutor's not going to be like, "Oh yeah, I recognize you. I put you away before.
You're the 6'2", 250-pound Mr. Olympia."
How did Shannon think it was going to be a good idea to get the guy that the prosecutor Baxter forced to resign as his operative for the case to go back in and kill everyone?
You feel like this would make news also.
Yeah.
Just sheriff dies in huge explosion.
Yeah. Former FBI agent turned local sheriff. Kaminsky. Blown sky high.
That is a hell of a first act.
Well, I got to say, I was not bored at all. Not for a moment. It's
There's
lean.
nothing
it's mean.
boring about it.
No.
That's for sure. I am on board at this point.
I am too. And you were asking, like, how is it for someone that was, relatively inexperienced, with the movie? And I got, you love Arnold first and foremost. Also, we have we're conditioned in a way to love these movies the way that we do.
Uh-huh.
And so I was watching it. I was like, yeah, I'm willing to forgive the warts, the chips in the paint, whatever.
Well, you said they all feel so familiar, even if you haven't seen them.
They do. It's like it feels 100% familiar, and you're willing to forgive a lot because you know it's going to be fun. It's like, it's just going to be fun. That's all it is.
That's what we're here for. So watch shit blow up and watch people get shot up and punched out.
Fake their deaths and whatever.
Oh, man. But yeah, that's a jam-packed opening episode.
It is.
For this series. So we'll be back next week.
Hope you wet your whistle and be back with us next time.
Yeah, we'll be back with a lot more on Raw Deal.
Once upon